Ladies and gentlemen,
Recording in
it's your boy,
progress.
Josh Southgate, here with my very special guest, all the way from shithole Goulburn, Mr. Host of one of the best podcasts in Australia, called in the Crossfire. It is John L. Crossfire.
I both hate and love you for that introduction. Goulburn certainly is an interesting place. I'm glad that I moved away from that place, but I will always, I'll always get nostalgic when I visit family and whatnot. But I'll just correct you. It's Caught in Conversation. It's a
Oh,
little play on Caught in the
my
Crossfire. I
bad.
feel like Caught in the Crossfire was too obvious at this point.
Yeah, my bad. So what got you into fuck me, Dad, God damn it. Guys, it is one of those days where you just don't give a shit.
I mean, look, Razor is gone.
Razor.
I've literally just popped. This is popping my Zoom cherry right now. I literally had to install like a bunch of different things, and I'm
Yeah.
terrible at technology. I don't know how I managed to run a fucking podcast, but
There'll be a
here we
link.
are.
Guys, there will be a link down below to go check out the podcast of all podcasts. I mean, I am a cool. I do listen to James E. Cornet's podcast, The Experience, and the Drive Through. The people, the cult of Cornet. I'm a cult of Cornet member.
See, I'm not a consistent listener of Cornet's podcast, but honestly, like you talk about, Scott passed away today. Obviously, one of the greatest minds in the business, Jim Cornette.
Yeah,
He says some outlandish stuff, but
yeah,
a lot of the times he's not wrong.
yeah. So, what got you into wrestling?
See, this is interesting because you're asking the questions that I usually ask people, so I should know the answer to this. But I can't remember what came first, but basically, I always had cousins and friends that always had like all the video games and the action figures and stuff. And one of my earliest memories, I remember my cousin, he had the WCW like Nitro ring, and he had the Wolfpack Sting. I think he had Hollywood Hogan and Hollywood Nash. And then just like, so obviously I knew who Sting and that were through that. And then I had another friend who had like just video games and stuff. And I think this was probably like mid to late 90s. It was really at the height of like the Attitude Era. So guys that I was first introduced to, obviously Stone Cold, The Rock. Two guys that really always stood out to me, which is funny because it's the ultimate dream match. On the WCW side, you had Sting because that's who my cousin's guy was, and then I had one of my best mates. His guy was the Undertaker. So it was like, even though I wasn't I didn't start watching frequently until like early 2000s. I think the first actual episode of Raw that I watched was the one where Stone Cold became the general manager. But as I said, like my cousin, he had the video games, friends had video games, so I was always playing it on No Mercy 64. I think was the first wrestling game I ever played, and we all know that that's one of the greatest games of all time. And then my cousin, he had SmackDown 1 for PS1, and I don't know how many times I went through the fucking story mode on that thing. But yeah, it was mainly because of action figures and stuff that I really grasped into it. I don't know what it was about wrestling, but there was always something where wherever there was some sort of pro wrestling reference on whatever I was watching, no matter what it was, I was just like, yeah, wrestling.
Yeah.
And then, just discover that my cousins actually got action figures and video games. And then I go to my friends, and I think it was probably Here Comes the Pain is probably my all-time favorite, as it is a lot of people, but it was one of the ones that I really got to know some of the current games. One of my friends had Here Comes the Pain on PS2, and this was the first time that I actually seen the likes of Eddie Guerrero, who, he's my hero now. The guys like Rey Mysterio, Brock Lesnar, John Cena. I'd never seen any of them until playing the video game, because as I said, I wasn't actually a frequent like watcher at the time. But yeah, I think just the spectacle of it, like these guys are larger than life superheroes, and it kind of, because I wasn't watching consistently, this is a bit of a rant, it just kind of, it all blends in. But really what got me into wrestling, I think at the end of the day, was either the action figures or the very early versions of the video games, and then discovered that, hey, this is an actual thing that's on TV. What the fuck? Like, I need to see this.
You've you're obviously injured, but like, what was that show in Cara? I was supposed to go to it, but unfortunately, my cricket team made the semis, and I was like, God damn, I want to go to it.
Yeah, how dare you guys succeed?
Shut the fuck up. We
Uh,
kind of lost in the grand final on Sunday.
you know what?
So
You
we're
know
pissed
what?
about that.
You still made it. You still
Yeah,
made it.
minor premiers. I'll take it. I'll take that. So what was the Emma Butler show like? Because I think James said like once the DVD's like done, he's gonna like send me a copy to like watch it. And I'm
So
just like,
I talked about this. I talked about this with Hellfire, and I honestly think, like, obviously, look, I'm no big time wrestler. I'm just a dude that's kind of done it on the very small side of the indies in Australia. But I think the handful of shows that I have been blessed to be a part of, whether it's referee, commentary, wrestler, whatever, hands down, it's the best show that I've been a part of. And I think, obviously, the unfortunate passing of Emma, but I believe that because that's what it's for, I feel like everyone could kind of just feel how special it was, and they put that little bit extra into it, sort of thing, and it all just like usually there's always something minor, and I think the only thing that went wrong was that we had to loosen the ropes and retighten them before the show started because one of the turnbuckles had a bit of tension on it, which wrestling rings, that stuff happens. But that was literally the only problem we had, from the start to the very beginning, and luckily we managed to catch it because otherwise rope would have snapped in the middle of the fucking show and we would have been screwed. But I've never been a part of a show that's run so smoothly and had such a great reaction, from the fans. On top of that, we had, I think the final number was like 150 or 160 that paid. I'm not sure if they all turned up because of the storms and that, but we had still well over 100 people there, and they were loud, they were vocal. I probably shouldn't have been refereeing any matches, let alone the 4 matches that I ended up doing, but a very, very special night for me. And I don't know if we're going to get into it, but Emma, of course, she passed away from the same type of cancer that my dad did. And it was a very special type of tongue cancer where it's not super, super rare, but of all the types of cancer that's out there, it's not all that common either. So it was a very special show for me, and for High Octane to even let me be a part of that, to then end up being, the special guest referee of the main event, to shit, we need another referee. And I'm like, well, I've got my gear. Let me just jump in, right? It's just a special night. And I think I've just repeated that 5 times now, but there's no other way to describe it, man. It was just amazing.
So let's talk about your match 4 years ago in Canberra. You were in a 4-way match, I believe, with
So Chris Shadows was defending the Inner Suburbs Championship. Chris Shadows, of course, now Tom Barrett in DMCU. He was defending against Adrian Axton, Parker Gates, who without her I wouldn't have had any sort of career. I'll put that out there now. She was the one, I had a handful of trainers. She was the one that really put the foot in my ass and was like, no, this is what you're doing. This is who you are. Just embrace it, sort of thing. So yeah, it was Chris Shadows, Adrian Axton, Parker Gates, and myself. That was only, I believe, my 3rd proper match. I'd done, battle royals and stuff here, but once I'd had my debut, I think I did a tag match, was my debut. Then I did a scramble match, and then I had either a tag match or the 4-way. I can't remember which one came first, but it was in my first 5 proper matches anyway.
I will say that show, pretty damn good show. The one part I didn't get was when Rex came out for his match, and then
I can't even remember the rest of that show, to be honest.
It was
everything just blends together as it is.
Just go to my YouTube channel. One on the camera.
It's on there
blog.
somewhere. You'll see me falling off the rope.
By the way, that ring, I'm pretty sure I counted at least 5 times it was gonna break. That's one of the oddest rings I've ever seen. I was like, what is going on? Mallow, be quiet. I got my cat and he wants to go outside. Shut up, Mallow. So that opening match, by the way, Atticus Slane. Is Adrian Slane or Atticus Slane?
Atticus Slane, yeah.
Atticus Slane. That kid is a star. Hell, put him against Robbie goddamn Eagles. He'll go out there and kill it. I guarantee it. Seriously. Put him against
I'm glad that he's back as of Western Warfare 5, and I'm hoping that he sticks around for a little while because he's got a little something.
He's a good kid. So let's talk about your hero Eddie Guerrero. What is one of your favorite Eddie Guerrero matches? And I also have the prestigious Intercontinental title with a legend's name on it.
Oh, beautiful. So I actually, this is really hard for me because on my podcast for an episode 10, I did a countdown of what I thought was Eddie's 10 best matches. And I try my best to like be unbiased. And it was really hard to separate kind of, the best from my favorite. But I feel like in a way it kind of goes hand in hand. Like obviously the number one favorite is the match that, spoiler alert, if for whatever reason you listen to this interview and then go back and check out the pod, number one on that list was Halloween Havoc 97. I don't think anyone can doubt that has to be, his best match, but it's also my favorite match just for everything that went on. But there's a couple of like obscure ones as well. Like there's Chavo and Eddie against the world's greatest tag team, Hassan Benjamin. I believe it was Backlash 03 or 02, 03. And it's just like, it's just your basic standard tag match. And they're just doing their, basically going for the motions. But that one, for whatever reason, has always really stuck out to me. Eddie versus Kurt at WrestleMania 20 is a good one. I can't think of the actual event, but it's on one of Eddie's DVDs. They had like a bunch of matches, but Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho, there's a match specifically, and for the life of me, I can't think of it. It's on his Viva La Raza DVD set anyway, and that's one of my favorites as well. Pretty much like any Eddie match you could throw out there and be like,
I'm looking
that's a good one.
At the card for Backlash 02 matches were Kidman versus Tajiri, Bradshaw versus Scott Hall, RIP, Jazz versus Trish Stratus, Brock Lesnar versus Jeff Hardy, Angle Edge, RVD, Eddie Guerrero in the Continental title, Austin.
That's a good one as well.
Taker, Billy and Chuck versus Al Snow and Maven, and Triple H versus Hulk Hogan for the Undisputed title. What a card. Okay.
Yeah, the tag match I'm thinking of is 03. I can't remember if it was Backlash or not, but it was early 03 anyway. But yeah, you mentioned Eddie versus RVD in 02. They had a fantastic feud, and that of course blended in. That went from, I think Eddie went from that feud straight into the one that he had with Edge, and they had the SummerSlam match, the Unforgiven match, the no DQ match that Edge and Eddie had on that episode of SmackDown, where they both really broke out. That's up there. That's probably like my second favorite Eddie match. I think I can't remember what I ranked it on like the best matches, but that's probably my second favorite Eddie match behind the Halloween Havoc match.
What does the future hold for Mr. John L. Crossfire?
See, I'd like to sit here and give you a definitive answer, but that all depends on what may or may not happen, with doctor surgeries and, appointments or whatever. As you know, I've had problems with my eyes. I've had problems with my eyes since I was a kid, pretty much. I had a surgery on my right eye when I was 16 years old. And, of course, I had some issues last year, which it almost literally exploded. Like, I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. And because I'm pretty much blind in this one, it would have been like, well, that's a no-no, step away from the ring sort of thing. It's all cleared up. Like, I'm at a point where if I was to just be training in a ring, I can take bumps and that, and I'm fine. But as far as an actual match, I don't think it's still quite to that point because accidents can happen. And if I'm, take a thumb to the eye or something like that, then the risk is still there, but it is slowly getting better. And hopefully, I was meant to be having surgery last month as we record this in May. They haven't given me an actual date yet, but in May, after fucking 12 years by that point, it's going to be the left eye. They're going to finally, because I had a cornea transplant. I don't think I actually mentioned what the surgery was. I had a cornea transplant on the right eye. They're going to finally do one on the left eye. So I guess this is a little exclusive here for Joel Southgate. Joel Southgate. I've talked to a couple of people about this. And that's all comes down to if the surgery isn't postponed and it does happen in May and it heals right, because I've got a lot of scarring. So there is a very high chance that the first go around may be rejected and I'll have to do it again. But if it can all be sorted out and it heals, it'll take, 3 to 6 months with the stitches, whatever, maybe a little bit longer. The last one took 9 months, but that was because it had trouble healing. But you might as well say 6 months to a year, right? So that would lead me to May 2023. So my goal then is I have lost a little bit of weight. I've lost about 5 or 6 kilos now because between not being able to wrestle and then losing my dad, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I eat a fuck ton of food for comfort, and I've just
straight edge,
put on 20 kilos, right?
We're straight edge. We're straight edge.
I wouldn't say that. I drink every now and then, and I had a cigarette like for the first time in however long the other weekend, but I think it was like 2 years. We'll go another 2 years and I'll have another one. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I eat like a son bitch, like I have anxiety, depression, all the bells and whistles. Everyone has some sort of whatever, right? And I have ADHD as well, which apparently that causes you to not feel full when you are. I never knew that until I was an adult, which made sense because as a kid I used to just fucking eat. But
yeah, same here.
but that was a bit off topic. But getting back to it, if it all heals, and it's by May 2023, that then in my mind gives me 12 months to look at May 2024 or thereabouts to maybe possibly step back in the ring. And I'm not going to say I'm going to return to wrestling and just go. It's going to be a handful of matches, and then hopefully be in Cara again, because that is where I had my first match on my 23rd birthday. Obviously, that was number 3, but because of a pandemic, we've only just had number 5. So, in a perfect world, Western Warfare 7, when it happens towards the end of 2024, I will have just turned 30 or just about turned 30. I want to have, as I said, I want to have a handful of matches, but I want that to be my last match. And it's not like, oh, I'm announcing my retirement, like, because I'm not a big star. I'm not Richie Taylor, right? Who just had that amazing, farewell with Joel Bateman. This is just me for my peace of mind. Like my last match I lost, and being a student of the game, and that sounds really fucking vain saying that, but being a student of the game and having respect for the business, I feel like you should always lose going on the way up. But the performance that I had in that match, unfortunately, I sustained a rib injury in that match. Ugh. Where momentarily on commentary, they said I was gassed. I wasn't gassed. My body legit was just rejecting oxygen for a solid minute or two. So I'm on the floor like, fuck. And then, I got back in and I finished the match. But for me, it's like, that's not the performance that I feel like people that have paid their money deserve to see. Like, obviously, you're not going to see me doing springboards and Canadian destroyers and shit like that, but I could still do better. I know I've done better. I've done better in the past. So I just I want to come back in 2024, hopefully have a couple of matches, and then have, I say last match because look, it's wrestling. I might come back here and there, but in a perfect world, have my last match at Western Warfare 7 in 2024. If High Octane wants to book it, if I'm healthy by then. Never know. Depends, They might have a big group of rookies come in and be like, fuck you, we're more talented than you. And I'll be like, oh, fine. I'll ref your match then. That's fine.
Where can people find you on social media? And obviously the Spotify Caught in the Crossfire. Fuck. I did it again. God damn it.
In conversation. It's fine. It's because the logo, it says Caught in the Crossfire, but it's scratched out to have conversation. But you've really got to look at it. I didn't put as much detail in the scratches, but I have my phone in front of me. So on Twitter and Instagram, I am sensational_LJ, because that was another gimmick that I came up with when I was 11 or 12, that was eventually I was going to kill John Crossfire and be reborn, but that's not to be. You never know. They might still make an appearance as like a commentator or a manager at some point. Who fucking knows? It's wrestling. Let's all have fun. But if you go to my link tree, which is the link tree is, so it's Linktree, but there's a dot between the R and the 2 E's /sensational_LJ. That has everything. It'll take you to all 3 platforms that my podcast is currently on, which is Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts. It'll take you to my Instagram and my Twitter. And then I've also got the Crossfire Facebook page. Pro Wrestling Tees if you want to buy a shirt. Who knows? I like tacos. That's probably what the money's going to go to.
I like tacos. Who doesn't love tacos? Like tacos.
But yeah, if you go to just my Instagram at @sensational_LJ.
And there's the podcast, guys. If you want to go listen to it. I just gave it a 5-star review.
Thank you very much.
Your
The
first
logo was
one.
made actually by
That's your first one.
Gaming Zombie Thing. Oh, look at that. First one.
I'm on fire. Mr. John L. CrossFire, it has been a pleasure. And hopefully I will see you very soon at a show where I have to make the 3-hour trip down the shithole Canberra or whatever. No offense, Canberra, but too many roundabouts. Like, come on, how many roundabouts do you need? Like, freaking.
I'm honestly like, at times I'm glad that I can't get my license, because even just sitting in the backseat of a car or sitting on a bus, I'm getting road rage, and I'm just like, no, fuck this. Like,
the fuck off.
Just walk. But yeah, anyway, hopefully, obviously, as I said, due to health reasons, I won't be able to be at the next World Series, but maybe the one after that we can catch up and have a chat and work out. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, I will be there, guys. Don't you worry. The streak continues, because I did their 2 shows in 2018, Hurstville and Penrith, and then at the Penrith show, I got Joey Ryan's bully pop and got called a sick fuck by about 800 plus people. I'm just like, yeah, cool, fuck you all. That was honestly, as you can tell, autographs from Walter, Jordan Grace, Marty Skull, JC. I have a lot of autographs. I attend a lot of shows too, but I've got like no shows like April 2nd now. So
give it like another 2 years and hopefully we'll be out of the pandemic and the entire wall will just be photos.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to use my roof soon. Anyways, guys, we're gonna get the hell out here now. It has been a pleasure, Mr. John L. CrossFire. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If not, you're fired.
That's good shit, pal. Thanks for having me, dude.
God damn, that's some good shit. That's some good shit.